from the Lakehouse. I'm your host, Pearl Ubaru, and I just want to make sure that y'all are sending your watch party information, your pictures, your feedback, all of your concerns to us on social media. So use the hashtag live from the Lakehouse so you can chat with us and mingle with us a little bit. So I'm actually here today with the awesome Adi. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. The event is amazing.
You look great. Love the shirt.
Thank you.
It's great to have you. So I'm not going to introduce you. I just want you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, so hi, my name is Adi Polak, and I'm the author of Scaling Machine Learning with Spark. Super excited to be here today. I have more than a decade experience working in data and machine learning space, and I'm very, very happy to see that kind of cycle between data and machine learning and how AI is back at center and really helping us being more productive.
Yes, speaking of author, your newest release, Machine Learning with Apache Spark, what kind of inspired you to write about that?
Yeah, so I started my career in research, actually. I did my thesis on anomaly detection, very deep in the AI space and machine learning space. In the cybersecurity, it was a big part of what I did. And during my time, I worked in the lab, and we served a lot of Fortune 500 companies. So it became my research essentially became very practical. Because a lot of the things that we did, a lot of the project I worked on for big companies that actually leverage it for their customers. And then I realized some of the challenge is actually, skills, right? Data scientists are expected to also be software developers, sometimes data engineers even. And so I moved from being a data scientist and working on machine learning to the other side of building data infrastructure at scale. And then I realized, I kind of have this unique experience, and I moved to work with products and serving customers. So I realized it kind of continuously showed up. It kind of continuously popped out these challenges. And I said, okay, if I faced it, if now I see customers are facing it, how about I'll capture it in a book so people can actually advance their career, and take advantage of that. Even if we don't get to work together on a day-to-day basis, they can still progress and build their infrastructure, build their machine learning platform, leveraging the great tools that we have in the industry, and capitalizing on what exists, which is Apache Spark that is probably installed in all organizations in the world as using analytics and data processing. So this is kind of like the story of how it came together.
That is super awesome. I know you touched on it a little bit, but could you provide us with a glimpse of what we can expect when we read this book? Like, for example, if I was to just rip it open right now, what can I expect? What can I learn?
Yeah, so I'm taking you through a journey, starting with what can you do with machine learning, a little bit of the applicative side, some of the terminology, the machine learning lifecycle, really looking at from the beginning all the way to the end until I have something running in my production, and then slowly diving into the practical aspects of how I can actually build that thing, looking at pros and cons, right? Because every company, every system is slightly different, every requirement is slightly different. So being very cautious and being very mindful of the pros and cons of the things that we're doing. And so going through all of these, going through all the nitty-pitty stuff that people need to be aware of and kind of build into their strategy as they're building their platforms, and being very practical and hands-on all the way to deployment, and also monitoring my machine learning in production, thinking through data drift, concept drift, all these good things that people sometimes forget or kind of leave to the end. I kind of make sure to give holistic approach, holistic overview of everything, and making it very simple so people won't need to have a PhD in order to build those systems. That was the goal. Hopefully, people can take the book and actually work with it.
That is so awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. So I kind of want to know, you are obviously an author, but you're also an educator. You're also a community leader. You do tons of stuff. How do you balance all of that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, for me, it's all about doing what I love. I love helping people. I love educating. I love giving back to the community. And when it's something that is so entrenched within you, it's super easy because it's not work anymore, right? It's just you're having fun, you're helping others, you see how other people grow in that space. So this is one thing. And another thing is also focus. Like making sure I'm focusing on the right thing, making sure I'm focusing on actually educating on the things I can do and I can bring value to the world. Instead of trying to do everything, and kind of very much focused on the things that I'm good at and I can support others. And sometimes, I need to balance it a little bit, take some vacations.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
is awesome. That is awesome. She does a ton, y'all. She is killing it, and I'm so glad that you're here. So thank you. Let us talk a little bit more about how you were nominated as top 25 influential woman in software development. So how do you leverage these opportunities to promote yourself and also just diversity and inclusion in the tech industry?
Yeah, that's a great question. I say yes more often than I say no.
That's good and bad.
That's good and bad, but that's the reality of things. What I do is I share what I know, I share what I learn, and I share my felt experience working with customers and working with Fortune 500 companies and startups. And when people see that and when they engage with my content, they understand that there is something that they can learn from it, right? All the educational part. And so I guess it reached the right people. And when the right people saw it, they said, oh, there's something in it, like, someone with 20, 25 years experience going through my content. And they're like, oh, she changed something. She said something that really clicked. I never thought about this thing. So it kind of created a different momentum and a different connection between the people. And so, a lot of people are excited about data and AI space now. They want to continue and take their journey and take their careers into that path. And so people see it, and essentially this is how it happens. Someone gave my name, I guess, to the organizers, and they went over all the things. They had a committee. Yeah.
That is awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I know that you're also running some different things taking place today. I know we talked a little bit about it, but about bias and ethics in AI. How would you recommend companies or organizations to get more comfortable talking about these things?
Yeah, I think it's really important to be aware that we have inherited bias, unconscious bias, that sometimes, we don't want to take action on top of it, but just the way we got raised, the places where we live or anything like that kind of build this, unconscious bias. So the first thing is to know there might be some bias and be open to learning and growing in that field. And we talked about it in the context of machine learning, especially from building a machine learning model, LLMs, what have you, using existing data. It might be that data has inherent bias into it. So I always need to make sure I have a human in the loop, that it's aware of those biases, and also making sure I'm baking in the right tests capabilities. So I know my data is well distributed, it covers all the different aspects, it has all the different nationalities, genders, what have you. It needs to be there represented. So when I am actually building my model, I'm addressing all aspects needed. And kind of like slowly building it to not be biased. Now, in the beginning, it's going to be hard.
Of course.
Because we have to really, manually go over the data, manually do the test. But as we progress as an industry, I believe this is the right way to go. Because, the other way around, we're just going to emphasize bias, and automating bias, this is not a place we want to get into, right? We want to go the other way around. We want to help, we want to uncover, we want to reduce biases as much as possible so we can have a more equal society for everyone to flourish.
I love that. Thank you so much for elaborating on those tough topics. We got to get comfortable talking about it, so thank you for sharing. I want to know, we are here at the summit. The energy is amazing. As you can see, everyone is around us, excited. What are you kind of excited about for this week?
Wow, there's so many new announcements coming up. Like just today, the Lakehouse IQ. I saw it and I was like, wow, this is fantastic. I know Ali said, please don't call it my personal assistant. He did say that, but I was like, oh, but that could be my best friend.
I love that. I love that.
So I think this is fantastic. And also the vibes, the atmosphere, how everyone here, are kind of like want to mingle and have a healthy conversation around the data and AI and the technology, what they're building. The fact that a lot of companies are now, optimizing for data and AI space. For me, it's phenomenal, kind of having conversation with people saying, oh, we're now building our machine learning platforms. And I'm like, oh, nice. It's like, oh, I read your book. It's like, okay, cool.
I want an autograph.
Yeah. Happy to. I'm doing a book signing.
Yeah, speaking of your book signing, where can we find that? How can we learn more about that?
Yes, so we're doing a book signing. Prophecy were very kind and bought like 4 boxes of books.
Wow.
So at 1 p.m. at their booth, just behind us, if you're around, we're going to hand out free books for people signed.
That is awesome. I will come by. I need your autograph.
Love to.
That is great. I do have a few more questions, if that's okay. So you did work at Microsoft, and during that time, you focused on building advanced analytics systems and other modern architectures for Azure. So what were some key challenges that you had actually encountered while doing this?
Yeah, this is a really good question. Well, I guess first of all, when looking at big corporations, it's always about alignment and really making sure we're creating impact and we're driving, what the customers actually needs. So there was always an interesting conversation between, what is very futuristic, how do we balance kind of the, here and now to make sure we're giving values to customers, but also kind of the long way, kind of like looking into the future, what are the things that we want to continue building, and how do we slowly kind of remove obstacles so we can bring more people in, that have maybe different skills or different capabilities. So it was always kind of, striking a balance between those spaces while making sure we're delivering impact, creating alignments, working cross functions. Because at the end of the day, when we think about advanced analytics, building machine learning platforms, it always goes beyond just one team. It's not one data science team that is responsible for that. We need data engineers, we need data scientists, we need data analysts, we need ML ops, ML engineers. We need a bunch of people, a bunch of skills, people coming from different backgrounds, different capabilities. And we have to bring them all together in order to actually deliver the impact for the customers and build the tools that customers need. So it was always very interesting to see how the dynamics works and how we can build kind of like one mission to one North Star to drive forward. And it was a fantastic, fantastic experience.
Yeah, I wanted to actually elaborate on that and just ask, what were some positives or what did you learn from that that came up positively from that experience?
So much. Microsoft is such a great company.
Yes.
I learned a lot about strategy, like planning for right now, and then being able to build a work plan and building a strategy for the next 5 years, like really taking a chance and taking a risk on building strategy and how to go about it and kind of slowly integrate all the bits and pieces while still, keeping enough room for changes and being a bit more agile. Microsoft also has a lot of emphasis on diversity and inclusion, which is a very big topic for me. This is something I've been volunteering with a lot. So how do we bring different people from different backgrounds in order for them and create a space for them to be successful, to thrive, right? It's one thing to hire diverse and the completely other thing to make sure we're building an environment where people can thrive and can really bring the best selves.
Yeah.
So that, and also the technical side, like Microsoft is dealing with, huge amount of data, lots of customers, lots of products, fantastic, and leadership skills. The leadership in Microsoft are top of the line. So
of course, that actually leads me to one of my almost last questions.
Yeah.
What initiatives and activities are you currently involved in that help empower, support underrepresented groups in tech?
Yes. So I'm mentoring a group of women that are kind of like, senior developers or data scientists or kind of like in the midst of their careers, how to get to the next step if they want to take a more of a lead role or they want to take a manager role, depending on where they want to go. So I've been working with them for the last 6 months. We're meeting once a month.
That is awesome.
Yeah, and they have their own roadmap, so it's fun.
Oh, that's great.
It's like thinking through what the right goals, how to set up goals, how do they progress, how to make the hard conversations less hard, right? How to lean in and really, speak for yourself, speak up, while still creating an environment that is, inclusive and embracing and all of these things. It's been phenomenal. These ladies are amazing, and soon you'll hear more about them.
I'm excited. I love that. Thank you so much for supporting them. I know for me, I'm, an underrepresented group in tech, and so I really appreciate your work there. So I know you said earlier when we were talking that you're going to stay here for a few more days. What are some plans that you have here in San Francisco?
Yeah, very good question. So I'm thinking about going up north. I know there's a really cool track. Forgot the name of it, but Sausalito area. I've heard it's
Okay.
really beautiful.
Oh, wow.
So
You're going to go by yourself? Just hang out?
we have a couple of friends here, so
That is awesome.
probably going to go get there together, and also Sonoma.
Oh,
Going to the
okay.
wineries, trying some good wine.
That is awesome.
Yeah, and just relaxing for a couple more days.
Yeah.
Hopefully the weather would be nice. Carl, the fog would be away for
Yeah,
a
it's
bit.
freezing, it's rainy, it's a lot. So I hope so as well.
Yeah.
But we are pretty much done here. So it was so great having you. Thank you for sharing your insight. I totally appreciate it. I know our audience definitely does. So thank you again. Have an amazing week. Thank you again.
Thank you, Pearl. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. You too. Next, we will be having our next guest, which is Vini, and she is on her way. Hey, how are you?
Good.
Nice of you to join us.
I know. It's
I was wondering
exciting.
where you were.
I know.
Sorry, y'all. This is my homegirl, Vini.
Hi, y'all. If you missed me, I missed this, and it's so good to be back. Live from the Lakehouse.
Yes, we are live at the Lakehouse. Please do not forget to post your pictures, send us your questions, feedback, any concerns that you might have. Use the hashtag on all socials, live from the Lakehouse. Vini, back to you. You look
Yes.
amazing. Loving the lip. I see what we're doing here.
Thank you.
How are you? How are you?
I am doing good. It's a lot of energy here,
Nice.
and this is what keeps us going.
Yes.
I met a lot of people, to be honest, and they are talking all about LLMs, generative AI, how data can be used there, and it's just amazing.
I know.
Yeah.
There's so much more. I mean, there were tons of announcements today
Exactly.
that were super exciting.
I was like, yeah, this is like super packed schedule for the Data AI Summit announcements.
Yes.
They were cool announcements. Generative AI. I think Patrick Wendell announced Lakehouse AI.
Yeah, Lakehouse AI.
There is ML Flow Gateway,
Yeah.
AI Gateway. Oh, I'm definitely excited about that. I want to check it out so that all my apps can be connected to one, and I don't have to pay for different Bard, OpenAI,
Yep.
and I can just use one gateway. So
That is so awesome. Well, it seems like you already, the energy is here.
Yeah.
You loved the experience. But you didn't really introduce yourself. We don't know you.
Okay.
Vini, who are you? Tell them a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Vini Jaiswal. I work in open source community. So I lead a lot of initiatives in open source and work with many projects with Google, Microsoft, Databricks, and currently I'm also working full-time at ByteDance. That's where we are forming an open source program office so that we can establish some strategies, principles, and best practices so that we can take our open source initiatives to the community. And yeah, that's what I'm working on. But before I was working at Databricks, I still kind of do because I was there for 5 years.
Yeah.
And it is a part of me that I take everywhere. So yeah, and I'm involved in a bunch of other initiatives for the Grace Hopper and dev community and all that, yeah.
Yes, I actually saw you on Grace Hopper. Congratulations.
Thank
You're going to
you.
be working in that. But open source, what is it?
Yeah, so open source, as we know, it has actually revolutionized the way software industry works, mainly in terms of innovation, because open source brings democratization and accessibility for everybody, not just for individuals, but also for the companies, so that they can open source, people have access to it, they can develop the code, they can contribute back to it, and that actually changes a lot of momentum, because now you have like forefront of innovation, a lot of people who are smart and who are thinking about next big thing. They can all come together, and companies can actually gain that valuable knowledge from the community, like what they need to build next. And that's why Databricks sits at the forefront.
Yes.
And it's a long story for me for the open source, but yeah, I would say open source leads the way in all innovation and AI, especially in AI.
Yeah, well, I mean, we do have time, so I kind of wanted to know, how did you get started, or what interested you about open source?
Definitely. So before Databricks, I worked at Citibank for 5 years. So I was brought in to take innovation to the next stage. And I was working in Center of Excellence for Innovation there. So me and my team, we were building this, back then it was cloud. So we were taking all our servers and making it cloud native.
Got it.
And throughout that, I think we wanted some solutions so that all of our global products, because imagine City, in the keynote when from JP Morgan, right? They talked about how big is their infrastructure. There are so many apps, so many use cases that they need to power, and anything that you put on the server, we have to make sure that in production when you are running it, it doesn't have that kind of global impact, and making sure that it's secure, it's accessible, and better manageable, right? So that's something similar which I did at Citi. And through that, we were using Linux a lot. So that's why I have tie-ups with Linux Foundation from a long time. We were using Linux Server because it was providing us scalability and things that we couldn't do before.
Yes.
So we brought that in. And I also was a part of a team which developed the data science platform. And that's how I was working on Cloudera, Hadoop, and we ran into scalability challenges. So you see how open source allows us to overcome some of the barriers. When we ran those scalability challenges, Apache Spark was a big thing back then. And oh my God, it saved so much time, so much complexity. And I was a big fan of it. Using Apache Spark, I was able to take the incubation to 174 projects.
What?
Yeah, with my team. It was amazing. So I think...
amazing.
Yeah, the speaker from JP Morgan, he's talking about 300 use cases, and it's kind of similar journey. So it was very much resonating with me. I'm like, yeah, he's giving all the backstory of it. Anyway, so that's how I got involved in Apache Spark. And after that, I wanted to work with more companies who can benefit from Apache Spark. So I started at Databricks after 1.5 years of working as an open source contributor and whatnot. And it actually was game changing. That's why Apache Spark has a special meaning to my career in open source.
Yes.
I started there and I didn't look back. At Databricks, we scaled. I talked to a lot of people who were pioneering the innovation. Because at Databricks, what we do is we talk to users and they tell us what they want to see in the next product, right? And that's how Delta Lake, MLflow, they were invented in the labs through the customer feedback. And that's what even now, when people are talking about generative AI, how they can use Databricks, that's what they can look forward to.
That is awesome, and that is so true. I want to know a little bit, 'cause I think you kind of touched on it, but what are some of your favorite open source tools? What is your favorite? I know you said you're a fan of Apache Spark, of course, but is there anything else?
Apache Spark, definitely. I was also a developer advocate for Delta Lake, and for that I established a lot of programs and community. So that is a big part of my life too. And now I'm working on Biconity and some other projects for ByteDance. So I will say there are a lot of projects I'm excited about.
Yeah, talk about those.
So as a co-chair at Grace Hopper,
okay, yes.
I'm working with a lot of open source projects, and it's exciting because those open source projects, they are working in terms of security, in terms of AI, machine learning. There are favorite libraries of people that they always want to see. So Matplotlib and PyTorch and all these projects. So, PyTorch is another favorite project because when I was working with customers at Databricks, they always had this EV use case or automation use case, and they wanted to use PyTorch underneath. So I was working alongside with those customers to bring those innovation too.
That is awesome. So we do have a few more days of the summit. Is there anything that you're looking forward to or that you're excited about? Are you speaking in this year?
So I am hosting Dev Lounge events.
Nice.
Because this is open source and there is a big community of data and AI here. So I want to make sure that people have a chance in a casual setting to network. So we just had open source a Dev Lounge session. We had found a co-founder of DuckDB there. At 3:30, we have Future of Data and AI session. And then tomorrow, we have LLM and Generative AI at 1:30. And then in the evening, we have Data Integrity and Compliance session.
So you are booked and busy, clearly.
Yeah, I love it.
You seem like it, and it's so great. You look amazing. Thank you again for being here with us.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing all of your insights. It was so refreshing to hear, and I learned a little bit too about open source. So thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, I definitely want to also add that at ByteDance, this is also a perfect opportunity since you mentioned two projects, right?
Yes.
So at ByteDance, since we are launching open source projects too, so if you want to check it out, there is Byconity and CloudWeGo. Those are two projects that we are working on. So if you have any feedback, try it out and leave us the feedback on GitHub. And there is also an opportunity. So I'm working with a lot of community at Gracehopper to get those projects live. And that's one of the ways I give back to the community to make sure that they have hands-on experience with the projects. So I'm working with Google, Microsoft, and a lot of new startups in AI. So look forward to Gracehopper Day and make sure you sign up to mentor too. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Vini. See you soon. Take care. Bye,
you.
everyone. We'll see you soon at Live from the Lakehouse.